Thank you, Tomiko. Good evening, viewers. Starting off the Friday's edition of the regional news with news from the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has tested positive for COVID-19. A statement from the Office of the Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago said Dr. Keith Rowley, who is fully vaccinated and received 2 boosters, is experiencing very mild symptoms. He will remain in isolation in keeping with the current COVID-19 protocols. As a result of his diagnosis, the PM has cancelled all of his engagements over the upcoming period. Additionally, the emancipation function slated for this Friday at the Diplomatic Center in TNT will be hosted by other members of the cabinet. Back in April 2021, Dr. Rowley tested positive for the virus. News from Jamaica. The decomposed bodies of 2 men were found Thursday morning near the Spanish Town bypass in St. Catherine, Jamaica. According to reports, one of the men is believed to be a 32-year-old man from Fraser's Content in Spanish Town. Relatives who were at the scene at the time of the discoveries say the man, whose name was given as Jeremiah, was reported missing on Saturday. The relatives further noted that the man was called from his house and had not been seen since. Based on information, Jeremiah was recently released from prison after serving 4 years on gun-related charges, while the second man has been identified by his called name, Mastro. A police source indicated that an internal feud among members of the one or the gang in Spanish Town may have led to the double killing. And finally, on tonight's regional news. New data from UNAIDS on the global HIV response revealed that during the last 2 years of COVID-19 and other global crises, progress against the HIV pandemic has delayed, resources have shrunk, and millions of lives are at risk. There were 650,000 AIDS-related deaths last year despite the availability of effective HIV treatment and tools to prevent, detect, and treat infections. There have been robust declines in new infections in the Caribbean and Western and Central Africa over several years. However, these gains are threatened by a tightening resource crunch. The report also shows that efforts to ensure that all people living with HIV are accessing life-saving antiretroviral treatment are delaying. The number of people on HIV treatment grew more slowly in 2021 than it has in over a decade. And while 3/4 of all people living with HIV have access to antiretroviral treatment, approximately 10 million people do not. There were an estimated 330,000 people living with HIV in the Caribbean in 2021. According to a report from 2010 to 2021, AIDS-related deaths in the region declined by 50%, while there were 5,700 deaths last year. An estimated 14,000 people contracted HIV in 2021, translating into 217 new infections every week in the Caribbean. 34% of new HIV infections last year were among Caribbean young people aged 15 to 24. That's all for the Friday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Joel Vogt. Back to you, Tomiko.